From the years 2014 to 2019, I uploaded 4 short films to YouTube. I took a lot of time, I crafted them, and once I posted them, they all severely underperformed. And I don't even know exactly at that time what I would define as a good performing video for a short film, but none of them even broke 1,000 views. So many filmmakers spend so much time and money crafting their story, crafting their film, but are you even giving your film the best chance to intrigue viewers to want to watch? In this video, I'm going to share with you a fascinating trick that I discovered that will cause audiences to feel like they have to watch your film. But first, let me share with you an illustration. You probably have all heard about how hand washing at hospitals became a common practice. Basically, during childbirth, a lot of mothers and babies were dying, and the mortality rate was extremely high. And there was a physician that noticed that doctors were simply not washing their hands and going from autopsies to delivering babies. Once he brought this up as a potential issue, doctors started washing their hands and the mortality rate dropped significantly. What they learned is that adding one small practice to their process changed the outcome for everybody, for the future generations. This shows that small tweaks to a process can really be the key to success. And it's the same for filmmaking. Once you understand and apply a very simple concept to your filmmaking process, you can see that same key turn to potentially reach thousands or even possibly millions of new viewers. And this affects kind of the entire process of story creation, filming, and editing, as well as marketing. But when it comes down to it, it's kind of thinking about everything backwards. It's thinking about what is the marketing going to look like for my film? Because if we're being honest, marketing is kind of everything. Marketing is how viewers decide whether they're going to watch your film or not watch your film. If you're uploading to YouTube, it's in the case of thumbnails. What is the artwork? What is the poster? What does the thumbnail look like that is intriguing viewers to watch? I want to take a moment to share with you this moment from a video from the YouTube channel Standard Story Company. This is very insightful. Now, this portion was talking specifically about posters for films online. And this guy creates posters, and he did an interview with this guy, and he gave us some really interesting insight that kind of leads to how it affects not just the marketing, but also the production of your story to see success and to intrigue people to want to watch your film.
What makes a good film poster for a short film?
It all just comes down to like a compelling image. Sometimes picking that compelling image requires you to be like a step removed from your film, because you know the backstory and all the characters' arcs and everything in your head, and then you watch the film and you look at like this still and you're like, oh, this was right before Robbie told Margot that this happened, and it's like means so much to you. And to the viewer, they look at this and it means absolutely nothing to them. It's two big faces that, actors they don't know. It's not really like grabbing them. This is like a micro budget feature that a filmmaker approached me with. And I think this is a good example of what we were talking about earlier in picking like your most compelling still, because I didn't see the film, but he did share the trailer with me. He liked it a lot. It's like a nice picture, and it might mean something more in terms of the film itself, but I knew in terms of selling this film, it wasn't going to do the most work of any of the shots. So watching the trailer, there was a shot. This doesn't have the VFX. This was the raw that he sent me, but there's green sand basically. And I'm like, you've got a film and there's green sand like that. That's something interesting, right? And you got a sunset, you got like, dramatic lighting, you've got green sand. So I figured, that is the picture to run with. That's going to get people interested. So it's all about, I feel like, selecting the right image, because I feel like this one gets you a little bit more interested in the film.
Basically, like he said, it's choosing a very visually compelling aspect for the marketing, for the poster. But if he also didn't have the green sand in his story, then it seems to come up lacking. Now let's dissect this a little bit. When it comes to audiences wanting to watch a film. What are the main factors that audiences will take into account when deciding if they actually are interested in watching a film based on the marketing? Across film history, the very first one has always been actors. Now, actors or stars, recognizable faces, has been a very common theme, and it still applies today. Think of Timothée Chalamet in the new Bob Dylan film. Well, he is blowing up. He's having a really good run right now in movies, and so a movie about Bob Dylan is going to do really well even with new viewers who don't know who Bob Dylan is or he've ever listened to his music, because Timothée Chalamet is playing the character. The next aspect is directors. So you think of Christopher Nolan. When Christopher Nolan makes a film, everybody wants to watch it. Is the director very recognizable and people love their work? And so in a lot of ways, a director, the creator of the film, can be the driving factor to watch the film as well. The next one is IP recognition. A lot of Hollywood tries to capitalize on this by doing prequels, sequels, or remakes, and they also dive into adaptations. So like think of Lord of the Rings, right? That was a extremely popular book. So when it became a movie, there was intellectual property recognition from the source material that audiences were naturally baked in for, and so they wanted to watch the movie. And the last one is visual novelty. And this is very important because when you're a filmmaker, when you're an indie filmmaker and you're a small budget or micro budget, or you don't have access to anything except visual novelty, well, that's what you have to play with. You don't have any stars in your film. You don't have a very recognizable creator. If you're the creator, you may not be super well known. You don't have the rights to do an intellectual property. There are some circumstances where people will do fan films, and those seem to do really well. But if you're not doing a fan film, what are you left with? What you're left with is essentially visual novelty. What is going to intrigue the audience by just seeing the artwork? And then when they get to the film, when they see that, are they satisfied? So I would argue if you're making a film for YouTube and there's nothing that's recognizable in the audience already, and you are trying to pull audiences in to a brand new story by brand new creator with unknown actors, well, you have to do something that's going to interest them. So filmmakers need to concept what that visual novelty is for your film. So I want to run through some examples of how even Hollywood uses visual novelty. The first one is Deadpool and Wolverine from this past year. If you think about it, there's already been 2 Deadpool movies, and so there's nothing super visually novel about the story. But really what was interesting with this third movie is that they brought in Wolverine, and instead of just bringing in the Wolverine we've seen before, they chose to do the yellow suit, which is the aspect of Wolverine from the comics that's never been seen on screen before. So it was very exciting to see that, and just the fact that there was Wolverine in the yellow suit was enough visual novelty to get people's attention, to see it, and to stir up brand new interest. Think about Wicked. Now, there's a lot of IP recognition here because it's been a very popular stage play, but even the artwork, right? If someone's never heard of Wicked and they see artwork like this for the first time, they think, why is that woman green? Why is that woman in a witch hat green? It catches your eye, right? So visual novelty is having an entirely green character because we don't see that very often. So what is this about? Going into movies coming out next year, you have 28 Days Later. I believe this is the 3rd film. There's actually in the trailer, it was very well received. In the trailer, there was like this temple, these towers of skulls, right? It was very ominous, and there's bones everywhere. And even without knowing the story, in the trailer and even in the poster, if you see here, they included like the symbol for 28 Days Later. But if you look closely, it's made up of a bunch of skulls. So when you see the poster, you see the trailer, you remember those images because it's something new. Like, how often do you see this giant temple in the middle of the forest that's made out of bones? It's made out of skulls. It's very brutal. It's very gruesome. It's very kind of haunting, and it's visually intriguing. It makes you want to watch the film. I actually watched the trailer. I had never seen any of them, and I watched the trailer for this 3rd movie, and I was like, well, if this is coming out this year, I better catch up. So I went back and watched the first one starring Cillian Murphy. I had never seen it before. It was a very fun film. Another example is Minecraft. Now we get into certain aspects that are very difficult to do, right? So a lot of animation. Indie filmmakers may not have the resources to do an animated story like Minecraft, but the example still stands. Not only did they have stars and IP recognition for this film, they also were including that visual novelty, seeing something on screen we've never seen before. This is a very interesting one, again, utilizing animation. It's basically a biopic, I believe, kind of like telling the story of a UK pop star, Robbie Williams. But the interesting thing they did was they chose to make him look and appear as a monkey. And so throughout the film, he's acting and going about performances, his interactions, all the drama like a man. It's acted by a person, speaks like a person, but what you're seeing is a monkey doing everything. And there's not a whole lot of reasons to do it, except for at the beginning of the trailer, before they introduce the monkey visuals, he says, "I've never really seen myself as normal." And so I believe they chose to do this literally partly because they wanted the visual novelty to grab people's attention. Another biopic about a singer, a popular star, is something we've seen over and over and over again. But if that star is visually seen as if he's a monkey, it's an interesting kind of nonsensical twist, but it gets people intrigued. And this is an older example from the movie Donnie Darko. This is kind of like a more tangible option, especially for indie filmmakers, or if you're doing a thriller or a horror style film. I wouldn't say Donnie Darko is necessarily a thriller. There's aspects to it that are creepy, but really when it comes down to it, it's more of like a psychological drama, I would say. But even having like this very creepy looking rabbit suit, right, in his film was a visual aspect, a visual interest factor for audiences to latch onto and say, what is this about? I'm intrigued. It caught my eye. Now I'm paying attention. And this method can be done in so many different ways. There's not a specific clear-cut way about how to achieve visual novelty in your film, but it's definitely something that I think both in your film and then pushing it in the final artwork. So the posters, the thumbnails, the trailer, right? Everything that's created for it, that visual novelty is going to be something that catches people's eye and piques their interest to pay attention, and then might lead them to actually watching your film. So as you're crafting a film, you don't have to have all of the bells and whistles. You don't have to have the well-known actors. You don't have to be a super successful, well-known director to have a successful film, especially on places like YouTube. Really, the thing that could be the make or break aspect of your story is, are you showing something that is new? Are you intriguing the audience by seeing something new? Because when it comes down to it, that's what viewers want. They just want to see and be told a story that they haven't seen before. And the thing that really bugs me is that in one of my films, I did have something that created visual novelty, but I didn't know about this concept before, and so I did not include it in the marketing, which I now know I should have. I hope this was valuable to you and insightful and inspiring. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and like the video so a ton more filmmakers can see this as well.